Welcome to Monk's Temple. Pause for a moment. Just pause. Feel the weight of your body. Notice the quiet rhythm of your breathing. Hear the distant sounds around you that you've learned to filter out. Now ask yourself something simple, something we rarely ask. Who is the one noticing all of this? Who is aware of the breath? Who hears the sounds? Who is this me that seems to be living this life? This is the oldest question. It has been asked in every generation, in every culture, by every human who ever wondered about the nature of their own existence. We usually answer with a name, a job, a story. I am a parent, a worker, a success, a failure. But the question never really goes away. It just hides beneath the noise of daily life, waiting for quiet moments like this to surface again. Tonight, we are going to follow this question down a path that leads to two very different places. One is the modern physics laboratory, where scientists use particle accelerators and complex mathematics to probe the fundamental nature of matter. The other is the silent space inside a human mind trained over thousands of years to look inward with perfect clarity. What we will discover is that these two journeys, begun for completely different reasons using completely different methods, arrive at the same destination. That destination is a radical truth. The world is not what it seems. You are not what you seem. And recognizing this is not just a philosophical puzzle but a liberation. Let's begin in the laboratory. Imagine you are a physicist at the dawn of the 20th century. You believe in a universe that is orderly and predictable. Every cause has an effect. Every object has a definite position. God, as Einstein would later say, does not play dice. But then you start looking at smaller and smaller things. You fire particles at a barrier with two slits. When you don't watch which slit they go through, they behave like waves, going through both slits at once. When you set up a detector to see which slit each particle uses, they suddenly behave like solid bullets, going through only one slit. The particle changes its behavior based on whether it is being observed. It's as if it knows it's being watched. This single experiment contains the entire crisis of modern physics. What is reality when no one is looking? Does the moon exist when no one glances up at it? Great minds like Niels Bohr concluded we must give up the idea of an objective reality. Physics doesn't tell us what nature is, only what we can say about nature. Werner Heisenberg put it this way: what we observe is not nature itself but nature exposed to our method of questioning. Einstein could never accept this. God does not play dice, he insisted. But decades of experiments have proven him wrong. The universe does play dice. And the rules are far stranger than anyone imagined. This is where our journey turns. Because while physicists were discovering these paradoxes, another group of explorers had already mapped this territory using only the instrument of their own minds. These explorers were Buddhists, following a path laid down by a man who sat under a tree 26 centuries ago and asked a different question. He didn't ask what matter was made of. He asked what suffering was made of. And in answering that question, he discovered something physics is only now catching up to. That man was the Buddha. His discovery was this: the observer and the observed are not two separate things. They arise together. They depend on each other. They are like two hands clapping. You cannot have the sound without both hands. You cannot have experienced reality without both a mind to experience it and a world to be experienced. The Buddha called this principle dependent origination. When this exists, that comes to be. With the arising of this, that arises. Everything in existence, from the smallest particle to the largest galaxy to the most subtle thought, arises in dependence on other things. Nothing stands alone. Nothing has independent existence. Everything is a relationship. The Buddha illustrated this with a powerful image. He said consciousness and the world of experience are like two sheaves of reeds leaning against each other. Neither can stand without the other. If you pull one away, the other falls. Consciousness cannot exist without something to be conscious of. The experienced world cannot exist without consciousness to experience it. They prop each other up. They are inseparable. If this resonates with you, if you feel the connection between ancient wisdom and modern science, please consider subscribing to Monk's Temple. Your support allows us to continue exploring these questions together. Simply click the subscribe button below. Now let's go deeper. Hold this principle of dependent origination up against quantum physics. The observer effect is not a strange anomaly. It is exactly what the Buddha described. The observed phenomenon does not have independent existence. Its properties arise in the context of observation. The electron does not have a fixed path until measurement creates a specific reality. The observer is not disturbing a pre-existing reality. The observer is participating in the creation of reality. The two sheaves of reeds are leaning against each other. Consider what this means for your ordinary life. You wake up believing you enter a pre-existing world. The sun is already there. Your coffee mug is already on the counter. You believe you are a small consciousness entering a vast, independent universe. But what if this is backwards? What if the universe you experience is not independent at all? What if it is co-created moment by moment through the meeting of your consciousness and the raw potential of reality? This is not solipsism. The Buddha was clear that the world is real. Pain is real. Pleasure is real. But their reality is not the reality of fixed, independent things. Their reality is the reality of processes, of relationships, of dependent arising. Your pain is real as an event, but it has no permanent essence. It arises due to conditions. It will cease when those conditions change. This is the first great lesson. The world is not a collection of things. It is a web of relationships. And you are not a thing in that web. You are a relationship within it. Let me tell you a story. It's about a man named Arthur who spent 40 years making maps. Arthur was a cartographer, and he believed in precision above all else. He would walk every inch of a landscape, measuring each hedge, each ditch, each stone wall with painstaking care. His maps were so accurate that farmers could find a single lost sheep using them. Arthur believed his maps were perfect representations of a perfect, solid world. One day, a new technology arrived at his office. It was an early computer that could create three-dimensional models from aerial photographs. Arthur was skeptical, but he fed in his data for a valley he knew by heart. The computer hummed and projected its model onto a screen. Arthur was stunned. The model was accurate, but it was alive. It showed the valley in morning mist and afternoon sun. It showed leaves swaying on trees. It showed clouds drifting across hills. He could zoom in on a single oak and watch its branches move. Arthur realized his perfect, static maps had missed the point. They captured the skeleton of the world, but not its living flesh. The valley wasn't a fixed place. It was a process. A dance of light, wind, time, and growth. This is what classical physics did. For centuries, we drew beautiful maps of reality. Atoms as little solar systems. Cause and effect as simple chains. But when we developed the technology to truly zoom in, we found reality is not a static map. It is a dynamic, shimmering process. The solid world dissolves into something else entirely. The Buddha saw this 26 centuries ago without any technology. He looked inward through the lens of his own trained mind. He saw that the self, this solid Arthur we each think we are, is also a process. Not a fixed thing, but a constantly flowing river of sensations, perceptions, thoughts, and feelings. He called this anicca, impermanence. Everything from a mountain to a thought to your own sense of being you is in constant flux. The illusion of solidity, of both world and self, is the first great illusion that both quantum physics and Buddhism shatter. Now let's go deeper into the double-slit experiment because its implications are profound. When we fire electrons one at a time at two slits without observing them, they create an interference pattern, meaning each electron goes through both slits simultaneously. But the moment we set up a detector to see which slit each electron actually uses, the interference vanishes. Each electron behaves like a solid particle going through one slit. This is not just strange. It is revolutionary. It means the electron does not have a definite path until it is measured. The property of which slit does not exist beforehand. It comes into being through the act of measurement. The observer and the observed are not separate. They are a single system. Here is another story to help you feel this truth. Imagine a pianist named Ilara. She was famous for the emotional depth of her performances. Critics said she didn't just play music. She became it. One day, a scientist friend asked her to participate in an experiment. They placed her in a room with a special piano connected to machines that could measure every detail of her playing. The data would create a perfect visual map of her performance. For the first session, Ilara played alone with the machine's recording. Afterward, the scientist showed her the map. Beautiful lines and colors. "Look," he said, "this is an objective record of what really happened." Ilara studied the map and frowned. "This records my fingers," she said. "But where is the music? Where was the hush I felt during the quiet part? Where was the grief I played into that minor chord, grief for my mother who passed away?" This map shows mechanics but misses experience entirely. For the second session, the scientist did something different. He brought in a small audience and asked them to focus not just on sound but on feeling, to let the music wash over them. He asked Ilara to play for them, not for the machines. When he compared the two maps, they were different. The second showed more nuance, more fluidity, more life. The presence of attentive listeners had literally changed the physical output of the piano. Ilara's story illuminates the quantum world. The piano keys are like particles. They behave differently when observed by cold machines versus when played for conscious, participating listeners. The full reality, the music, exists in the space between player and listener, not in the map. The Buddha expressed this through his teaching of dependent origination. He used the analogy of two sheaves of reeds leaning against each other. Consciousness cannot stand without an object. The world cannot stand without consciousness. They prop each other up. The quantum experiment simply demonstrates this ancient truth in a physical system. Think about your own life. How often do you experience something fully only when someone else is there to share it? A sunset alone is beautiful. A sunset with someone you love is transcendent. The sunset hasn't changed. But the reality of the experience has. The observer and the observed, together, create something neither could produce alone. This is not abstract philosophy. This is the fabric of your daily existence. Every moment of your life is a co-creation between your consciousness and the world. The quality of your attention shapes the quality of your reality. When you are distracted, the world is flat and gray. When you are fully present, the world comes alive with color and meaning. You are not a passive receiver of reality. You are an active participant in its creation. The Buddha's insight, confirmed by quantum physics, is that this participatory nature is not a limitation. It is a liberation. It means you are not a victim of an external world. You are a co-creator of your experience. And with training, with attention, with practice, you can learn to create a reality filled with more peace, more clarity, more compassion. The two sheaves of reeds lean together. Without one, the other falls. But together, they stand. You and the world stand together. Always have. Always will. The question is whether you will live as if this is true. Now we arrive at Heisenberg's uncertainty principle. This is not about our measurements being imprecise. It is a fundamental law of nature. You cannot simultaneously know certain pairs of properties of a particle with perfect accuracy. The more precisely you know where a particle is, the less you can know about where it is going. It is not that we cannot know. It is that the particle does not have a precise position and a precise momentum at the same time. Reality at its core is fuzzy. Classical physics wanted a universe that was certain and predictable like a perfect clock. The uncertainty principle says the universe is more like a jazz musician improvising as it goes along. It has a basic structure, but the exact notes it plays in the next moment are not set in stone. This is difficult for the human mind. We crave certainty. We want to know our job is secure, our relationships are solid, our health is guaranteed. The uncertainty principle whispers a different truth. Certainty is an illusion. The only constant is change. The only guarantee is the present moment. Let me tell you a story about a master calligrapher named Kenji. He lived in a small village and his art was legendary. He could paint a single stroke of ink that captured the essence of a bamboo stalk. Students watched in awe trying to understand his secret. One day his student Mika asked him, "Sensei, your strokes are perfect. How do you know before you touch the brush to the paper exactly where it will go? How can you be so certain?" Kenji smiled and set his brush down. "Mika, you have made the same mistake everyone makes. You think the stroke is in the brush or in my hand or in my plan. But look." He took a fresh piece of white paper and laid it on the mat. He dipped his brush in ink. "Tell me," he said, holding the brush a hair's breadth from the paper, "where is the stroke now?" Mika stared. The brush was loaded. The master's hand was steady. But the paper was blank. "It is in your intention," she ventured. Kenji shook his head. "Intention is a cloud. It has no form." Then with a swift fluid motion he brought the brush down and made a single perfect arc across the paper. The ink bloomed. The line was alive. There, he said, is the stroke. Before the moment of contact the stroke did not exist. There was potential for 1,000 different strokes. My intention, the brush, the ink, the paper, the angle of my wrist. All these were conditions. But the stroke itself, its unique living reality, was born only in the moment of contact. To ask where it would be beforehand is to misunderstand creation. It is not in the brush. It is in the dance. Mika understood. The stroke was not a fixed thing waiting to happen. It was an event born from the convergence of conditions. The certainty she sought was a myth. The beauty was in the uncertainty of the moment, in the master's ability to dance with it. This is the uncertainty principle. The particle's path and its position are like Kenji's brush and paper. Complementary aspects of a single event. You can know the brush before the stroke or the stroke after it is made. But you cannot know both in the moment of creation because the creation is the interaction between them. The Buddha taught this as anicca, impermanence. Everything changes. Everything flows. We try to grab onto things, to freeze them, to know them with certainty. But life is a river, not a photograph. The moment you try to hold it still, it has already flowed past you. There is freedom in this. If everything were certain and predictable, there would be no room for growth, no possibility for change. Your future would already be written. Your choices would be illusions. But uncertainty means possibility. Not knowing means openness. The Buddha took this further. He taught that not only is the world uncertain, but the self is uncertain as well. What you call yourself is not a fixed entity. It is a collection of 5 aggregates constantly in flux. Physical form, feelings, perceptions, mental formations, consciousness. None of these is permanent. None of these is truly you. Consider your body. The cells you had 7 years ago are mostly gone. You have a different body now. Consider your thoughts. The thought you had 5 minutes ago is gone. A new one has arisen. Consider your emotions. The mood you woke up with has already shifted. Which one was really you? The Buddha said we suffer because we cling to this illusion of a solid self. We build an identity out of changing phenomena and then defend it as if it were permanent. We say I am angry as if anger is who we are rather than a passing weather pattern in the mind. We say I am depressed as if depression defines us rather than a temporary condition. When you see through this illusion, something shifts. You stop identifying with every thought, every feeling, every sensation. You become the space in which these things arise and pass away rather than the things themselves. The anger comes. You see it. You feel it. But you know it is not you. It arises due to conditions. It will cease when conditions change. You do not need to become it. This is the practical application of uncertainty. When you stop demanding certainty from life, you relax. You stop trying to control the uncontrollable. You stop trying to hold back the river. You learn to swim. Kenji did not know exactly where his brush would go. But he had practiced for decades. He had developed such intimacy with the brush, the ink, the paper, and his own mind that he could trust the moment. He could enter the uncertainty fully and create something beautiful. This is what practice offers. Not certainty. Not control. But trust. Trust that you can meet whatever arises. Trust that you can respond wisely rather than react automatically. The uncertainty principle is not a flaw in reality. It is the very nature of reality. And your life participates in this same uncertainty. You do not know what will happen next. But you can know how to meet it. With presence. With openness. With trust. This is the path the Buddha pointed to. Not a path of certainty but a path of freedom. Freedom from the need to know. Freedom from the need to control. Freedom to simply be present for whatever arises, knowing it will also pass. Now we arrive at the most mysterious of all quantum phenomena. Entanglement. When two particles become entangled, they form a single system. They lose their individual identities. If you separate them, sending one to New York and another to the moon, and you measure a property of one particle, the other particle's corresponding property is instantaneously determined. They communicate faster than light, which Einstein's theory of relativity says is impossible. Einstein called this spooky action at a distance and never accepted it. But experiment after experiment has proven it is real. The universe at some deep level is not made of separate parts. It is a single interconnected whole. This shatters our common sense notion of separateness. I am here. You are there. That cup is over there. We are all distinct. Entanglement says this distinction is a superficial illusion. At the quantum level, what happens to one part of the system instantly affects the whole. Let me tell you a story about two singing bowls. In a small mountain monastery there were two very old singing bowls. They had been crafted from the same piece of sacred meteorite metal centuries ago by a master metalsmith who poured his entire being into their creation. They were twins in the deepest sense. For years they sat on opposite sides of the meditation hall. Monks used one to begin morning meditation, its deep resonant hum filling the space. They used the other to end evening practice. They were never played together. One day a visiting scholar heard about the bowls. He was fascinated by their unique metallurgy. He asked the head monk if he could take one bowl back to his university laboratory to study it. The head monk agreed, but with a curious condition. "You may take the evening bowl," he said. "But you must promise to ring it at the exact same moment every day that the morning bowl is rung here in the hall. Do this for 1 month." The scholar agreed. He took the bowl back to his soundproofed laboratory filled with sensitive equipment. Every day at the appointed hour he would gently strike the bowl. Back in the monastery the monks continued their practice. One afternoon a young monk was cleaning the meditation hall. He absent-mindedly picked up the morning bowl and gently tapped it. It produced its usual beautiful tone. At that same moment thousands of miles away in the scholar's lab the equipment attached to the evening bowl went haywire. The bowl untouched began to resonate. Not an audible sound but a subtle internal vibration that the sensitive machines could detect. It was as if the evening bowl in its isolation had recognized the voice of its twin. The scholar was baffled. He checked his equipment. He checked the time. It was perfect. For the rest of the month every time the morning bowl was rung in the monastery the evening bowl locked in its soundproof room would sing a silent song of connection. They were two yet they were one. Distance was irrelevant. Their shared origin meant they could never truly be separate. This is entanglement. Two particles born from the same quantum event remain forever linked. Not two separate particles influencing each other from a distance. One system appearing in two places. The Buddha's whole philosophy is a philosophy of entanglement. He taught that we are not separate selves struggling alone. We are all nodes in a vast infinite web of connection. He called this dependent origination. Every thought we think, every word we speak, every action we take sends a vibration through the entire web affecting everything and everyone else. Your joy is my joy. Your suffering is my suffering. The idea that we are separate is the primal ignorance from which all other suffering springs. When you see the web, when you feel the connection, compassion is not a moral choice. It is a rational response to the way things actually are. Think about your own life. When someone you love suffers, you suffer. You cannot help it. Their pain resonates in you. This is entanglement. When you see a stranger fall in the street, you flinch. Their body is not your body, but their experience touches you. This is entanglement. When you watch news of a disaster far away and feel a pang of sadness, that is entanglement. Distance does not matter. Connection does. Modern neuroscience confirms this. Mirror neurons in your brain fire both when you perform an action and when you watch someone else perform that same action. Your brain does not fully distinguish between self and other at a fundamental level. The boundary is permeable. The self is not as solid as it seems. The Buddha took this further. He taught that this interconnection is not just about empathy. It is about the very nature of existence. Nothing exists in isolation. A flower cannot exist without the sun, the soil, the rain, the bee that pollinated it, the gardener who planted it, the ancestors who cultivated the seeds. The flower contains all of these within it. It is not separate from them. It is them, arranged in a temporary form we call flower. You are the same. You cannot exist without your parents, their parents, the food you eat, the air you breathe, the teachers who shaped you, the friends who loved you, the strangers who built the roads you walk on. You contain all of them. You are not separate. You are them, arranged in a temporary form we call you. This is not poetry. This is physics. Entanglement proves that separation is an illusion at the most fundamental level. What we call individual particles are really just temporary expressions of a single unified field. What we call individual selves are really just temporary expressions of a single unified existence. When you really feel this, something shifts. The walls you built between yourself and others begin to soften. The constant effort to protect yourself, to promote yourself, to defend yourself starts to feel unnecessary. Who is there to protect when there is no separate self? Who is there to defend against when the other is also you? This is the freedom the Buddha promised. Not freedom from the world, but freedom from the illusion of separation. Not freedom from others, but freedom into connection. When you know you are entangled with all beings, you stop trying to disentangle. You stop trying to be separate. You rest in the web. And from that rest, compassion naturally arises. Not compassion as a duty or a moral command. Compassion as a natural expression of how things are. When your left hand is cut, your right hand does not ask whether it should help. It simply reaches over. It knows the pain of the left hand is its own pain. This is entanglement. This is connection. This is the web the Buddha saw and the physicists are now confirming. Now we arrive at the most mysterious of all quantum phenomena. Entanglement. When two particles become entangled, they form a single system. They lose their individual identities. If you separate them, sending one to New York and another to the moon, and you measure a property of one particle, the other particle's corresponding property is instantaneously determined. They communicate faster than light, which Einstein's theory says is impossible. He called this spooky action at a distance and never accepted it. But experiment after experiment has proven it is real. The universe at some deep level is not made of separate parts. It is a single interconnected whole. This shatters our common sense notion of separateness. I am here. You are there. We are distinct. Entanglement says this distinction is a superficial illusion. At the quantum level, what happens to one part instantly affects the whole. Let me tell you a story about two singing bowls. In a small mountain monastery there were two very old singing bowls. They had been crafted from the same piece of sacred meteorite metal centuries ago by a master metalsmith who poured his entire being into their creation. They were twins in the deepest sense. For years they sat on opposite sides of the meditation hall. Monks used one to begin morning meditation, its deep resonant hum filling the space. They used the other to end evening practice. They were never played together. One day a visiting scholar heard about the bowls. He was fascinated by their unique metallurgy. He asked the head monk if he could take one bowl back to his university laboratory to study it. The head monk agreed, but with a curious condition. "You may take the evening bowl," he said. "But you must promise to ring it at the exact same moment every day that the morning bowl is rung here in the hall. Do this for 1 month." The scholar agreed. He took the bowl back to his soundproofed laboratory filled with sensitive equipment. Every day at the appointed hour he would gently strike the bowl. Back in the monastery the monks continued their practice. One afternoon a young monk was cleaning the meditation hall. He absent-mindedly picked up the morning bowl and gently tapped it. It produced its usual beautiful tone. At that same moment thousands of miles away in the scholar's lab the equipment attached to the evening bowl went haywire. The bowl untouched began to resonate. Not an audible sound but a subtle internal vibration that the sensitive machines could detect. It was as if the evening bowl in its isolation had recognized the voice of its twin. The scholar was baffled. He checked his equipment. He checked the time. It was perfect. For the rest of the month every time the morning bowl was rung in the monastery the evening bowl locked in its soundproof room would sing a silent song of connection. They were two yet they were one. Distance was irrelevant. Their shared origin meant they could never truly be separate. This is entanglement. Two particles born from the same quantum event remain forever linked. Not two separate particles influencing each other from a distance. One system appearing in two places. The Buddha's whole philosophy is a philosophy of entanglement. He taught that we are not separate selves struggling alone. We are all nodes in a vast infinite web of connection. He called this dependent origination. Every thought we think, every word we speak, every action we take sends a vibration through the entire web affecting everything and everyone else. Your joy is my joy. Your suffering is my suffering. The idea that we are separate is the primal ignorance from which all other suffering springs. When you see the web, when you feel the connection, compassion is not a moral choice. It is a rational response to the way things actually are. Think about your own life. When someone you love suffers, you suffer. You cannot help it. Their pain resonates in you. This is entanglement. When you see a stranger fall in the street, you flinch. Their body is not your body, but their experience touches you. This is entanglement. When you watch news of a disaster far away and feel a pang of sadness, that is entanglement. Distance does not matter. Connection does. Modern neuroscience confirms this. Mirror neurons in your brain fire both when you perform an action and when you watch someone else perform that same action. Your brain does not fully distinguish between self and other at a fundamental level. The boundary is permeable. The self is not as solid as it seems. The Buddha took this further. He taught that this interconnection is not just about empathy. It is about the very nature of existence. Nothing exists in isolation. A flower cannot exist without the sun, the soil, the rain, the bee that pollinated it, the gardener who planted it, the ancestors who cultivated the seeds. The flower contains all of these within it. It is not separate from them. It is them, arranged in a temporary form we call flower. You are the same. You cannot exist without your parents, their parents, the food you eat, the air you breathe, the teachers who shaped you, the friends who loved you, the strangers who built the roads you walk on. You contain all of them. You are not separate. You are them, arranged in a temporary form we call you. This is not poetry. This is physics. Entanglement proves that separation is an illusion at the most fundamental level. What we call individual particles are really just temporary expressions of a single unified field. What we call individual selves are really just temporary expressions of a single unified existence. When you really feel this, something shifts. The walls you built between yourself and others begin to soften. The constant effort to protect yourself, to promote yourself, to defend yourself starts to feel unnecessary. Who is there to protect when there is no separate self? Who is there to defend against when the other is also you? This is the freedom the Buddha promised. Not freedom from the world but freedom from the illusion of separation. When you know you are entangled with all beings, you stop trying to disentangle. You rest in the web. And from that rest, compassion naturally arises. Now we arrive at the most profound and challenging of the Buddha's insights. Anatta. Not self. If everything is impermanent and everything is interdependent, then what about the one thing we are most certain of? Our own self. This feeling of being a continuous, stable me behind the eyes. The thinker of thoughts. The feeler of feelings. Surely that is real. The Buddha's radical claim is that this self is the grandest illusion of all. What we call the self is just a convenient label for a constantly changing bundle of 5 aggregates. Physical form. Feelings. Perceptions. Mental formations. Consciousness. None of these alone is a permanent self. And they are all changing so fast that we cannot hold on to any of them. The you of 5 minutes ago is gone. The you of now is a different collection, causally connected to the previous one but not the same. Quantum physics arrives at a similar conclusion about particles. What is an electron? Not a thing. A probability wave. An excitation in a quantum field. A set of relationships. Its properties only emerge in interaction with something else. It has no fixed independent self-nature. It is empty of an intrinsic standalone essence. This is called emptiness. Not that things don't exist. They don't exist in the way we think they do. As solid, separate, permanent entities. Let me tell you a story about a man named Leo. Leo was a merchant in a bustling city known for his impeccable character and his very long, very distinct shadow. His shadow was famous. People could pick him out in a crowd just by the unique shape of his silhouette at sunset. One day Leo was walking home through a narrow alley as the sun was setting. As he turned a corner, his shadow cast long and dark on the wall beside him suddenly stopped. It did not turn the corner with him. Leo kept walking, but the shadow remained stuck to that wall as if pinned there by the last rays of sun. Leo panicked. He went back to the corner, but the shadow was gone. He searched everywhere. For days he was a wreck. He felt incomplete, less than whole. How can I be me without my shadow? He wailed to his friends. He became obsessed with finding it. He stopped working. He stopped eating. He would only go out at night when shadows were absent so he would not have to confront his loss. Finally, a wise old woman who lived at the edge of the city heard his story. She sent for him. He came to her hut looking haggard and drawn. "Leo," she said, "show me your hand." He held out his hand. She took a lantern and held it close to his hand, casting a sharp clear shadow of it on the wall. "What is that?" she asked. "It is the shadow of my hand," he said confused. She then moved the lantern to the other side of his hand. The shadow on the wall changed shape and moved to the other side. "And that?" she asked. "It is a different shadow of my hand," he said. The old woman smiled. "Leo, you have been chasing a ghost. You thought your shadow was a thing you owned, a part of yourself. But a shadow is not a thing. It is a relationship. A conversation between light, object, and surface. When the light moves, the shadow changes. When the object moves, the shadow changes. When there is no surface, there is no shadow. You were never your shadow. You are the hand. The light is the world. The shadow is just the temporary consequence of their meeting." Leo suddenly saw. His panic was based on a fundamental misunderstanding. He had mistaken a temporary dependent event for a permanent independent part of himself. His shadow self was an illusion. This is an état. You are not your body because your body constantly changes. You are not your feelings because they come and go like weather. You are not your thoughts because they arise unbidden and vanish without trace. You are not even your consciousness because it is always consciousness of something, and that something always changes. The self is a concept we project onto the continuous flowing process of experience. Like calling a river by one name even though the water you see now is not the water that was there a moment ago. Letting go of the need for a solid permanent self is not a loss. It is a release from a self-imposed prison. It is the discovery that you are not a small separate self but the entire open field of experience itself. Think about your own experience right now. Notice the thoughts passing through your mind. Where do they come from? Can you find the thinker before the thought? Notice the sensations in your body. They shift and change. Can you find the self that is separate from these sensations? Notice the awareness itself. The one who notices all this. Can you find its edges? Its boundaries? Its shape? The Buddha invited his followers to investigate directly. Do not believe because I said so. Look for yourself. See if you can find anything permanent anywhere. See if you can find a self that does not change. What you will find is only process. Only flow. Only dependent arising. This is not nihilism. This is liberation. When you stop defending a self that does not exist, you free up enormous energy. Energy that was spent on worry, on protection, on anxiety. You can now direct that energy toward living. Toward loving. Toward being present. The self you thought you were is like Leo's shadow. Real as an appearance. Real as a relationship. But not a thing. Not something to cling to. When you see this, you can relax. You can stop trying to make your shadow look good. You can stop panicking when it changes shape. You can simply be the hand, playing in the light, casting shadows that come and go, none of them capturing who you really are. Now we arrive at the practical question. What does any of this mean for your life? How do you actually live with these insights? The quantum world reveals a reality that is participatory, uncertain, interconnected, and empty of fixed essence. The Buddha's world reveals the same. But the Buddha went further. He offered a path. A way to train the mind so that these truths become living experiences rather than abstract concepts. This is where science and Buddhism diverge in method but converge in purpose. Science observes from the outside. Buddhism observes from the inside. Science uses instruments. Buddhism uses attention. Both arrive at similar conclusions. But only one offers a way to transform suffering into peace. Let me tell you a story about a woman named Maya. Maya was a city planner. Her job was to design efficient systems. Roads, public transport, waste management. She believed that if you designed the system correctly, everything would flow smoothly. Problems were just design flaws waiting to be fixed. This worked well in her professional life. But in her personal life, the same approach failed miserably. She tried to design her relationships. If I say this, he will respond that. If I do this, she will feel that. But people did not behave like traffic. They were unpredictable. They had their own designs. When things went wrong, Maya would try harder. Better design. More control. But the more she tried, the more relationships crumbled around her. One day after a painful breakup, Maya sat in her apartment feeling like a complete failure. She had done everything right. She had followed all the rules. Why was her life such a mess? In that moment of despair, she noticed something. She noticed the noticing. Behind the flood of thoughts and emotions, there was a silent awareness watching it all. That awareness was not sad. It was not angry. It was simply present. For the first time, Maya saw that she was not her thoughts. She was not her emotions. She was the space in which thoughts and emotions arose and passed away. This was not an intellectual understanding. It was a direct experience. And in that experience, something shifted. The need to control everything began to loosen. The fear of uncertainty began to soften. Maya started to explore this new territory. She learned to meditate. She sat quietly each day watching her breath, watching her mind, watching the constant flow of experience. She began to see impermanence directly. Thoughts appeared and vanished. Sensations arose and faded. Emotions surged and subsided. Nothing stayed. Nothing was solid. Nothing could be held on to. She also began to see interdependence. Her anger was not just her anger. It came from conditions. Fatigue, hunger, old wounds, expectations. Her joy was not just her joy. It came from conditions. Sunshine, kindness, connection, rest. Nothing arose alone. Everything was a product of everything else. And slowly, she began to see through the self. The Maya she had been defending so fiercely, the Maya who needed to be right, to be in control, to be appreciated, that Maya was just another appearance in awareness. Not the owner of awareness. Just another guest passing through. This did not make her less. It made her more. More spacious. More flexible. More compassionate. When someone criticized her now, she did not immediately go into defense. She noticed the sensation of being criticized. She noticed the thoughts that arose. She noticed the urge to react. And in that noticing, there was space to choose a response rather than being forced into a reaction. The Buddha called this mindfulness. Sati. The ability to observe experience without getting lost in it. Like sitting on the bank of a river watching the water flow by. You see the debris pass. You see the calm stretches. You see the rapids. But you do not jump in and get swept away. You stay on the bank. You watch. You know. This is what Maya discovered. This is what the path offers. Not a set of beliefs but a set of practices. Practices that train the mind to see clearly. To see impermanence directly. To see interdependence directly. To see not self directly. Not as philosophy but as living experience. You can do this too. Right now. Close your eyes for a moment. Notice your breath. Just the sensation of breathing. Notice how it changes. Each breath different. Each breath new. Now notice your thoughts. Just watch them. Do not engage. Do not follow. Just notice them appearing and disappearing. Like clouds in the sky. Now notice the one noticing. Who is watching? Can you find them? Can you find an observer separate from the observing? What you may find is just awareness itself. Open. Empty. Aware. That is closer to what you really are than any thought, any feeling, any sensation. This is not escape. This is not dissociation. This is waking up. Seeing through the illusions that cause suffering. The illusion of solidity. The illusion of separation. The illusion of a permanent self. When these illusions fall away, what remains? Peace. Not the peace of a dead world, but the peace of a living river flowing without obstruction. Not the peace of no problems, but the peace of no resistance to what is. Maya eventually became a different kind of city planner. She still designed systems, but she no longer believed systems could solve everything. She left space for uncertainty. She left space for the unpredictable. She left space for people to be people rather than variables in a design. Her professional life improved. Her personal life improved. Not because she had better designs, but because she had less need for them. The insights of quantum physics and Buddhism are not just interesting ideas. They are invitations. Invitations to live differently. To see differently. To be differently. The universe is participatory. Participate wisely. The universe is uncertain. Rest in the not knowing. The universe is interconnected. Act with kindness. The universe is empty of fixed self. Let go and be free. Let me tell you a story about a gardener named Anya. Anya had a small plot of land behind her cottage where she grew vegetables and flowers. She loved her garden more than almost anything. She knew every plant by name, every patch of soil by its texture, every hour of sunlight by where it fell. Her garden was her sanctuary. But Anya had a problem. She could not stop worrying about the future of her garden. Would there be enough rain? Would the early frost kill her tomatoes? Would the rabbits find their way through her fence? She spent hours each day not just tending her plants but anxiously imagining all the ways they could fail. The worry was exhausting. It stole the joy from the very thing she loved. One evening, as she sat among her vegetables watching the sunset paint the leaves in gold, she had a realization. The garden did not need her worry. The garden needed her presence. The plants did not grow faster because she fretted about them. The rain did not fall more reliably because she feared its absence. Her worry was not helping the garden. It was only hurting her. In that moment, Anya made a quiet promise to herself. When she was in the garden, she would be in the garden. Really in it. She would feel the soil between her fingers. She would watch the slow unfurling of new leaves. She would listen to the bees working the squash blossoms. She would give her full attention to what was actually happening rather than to what might happen. This was not easy at first. Her mind kept drifting back to worry. But each time she noticed the drift, she gently brought herself back to the present. Back to the soil. Back to the leaves. Back to the bees. Over time it became easier. The worry lost its grip. The garden became what it had always been. A place of peace. A place of presence. A place of connection. Anya discovered something that the Buddha taught 26 centuries ago. Suffering comes not from the garden but from the mind's relationship to the garden. The garden itself is just the garden. Rain comes or does not come. Frost arrives or does not arrive. Rabbits visit or stay away. These are events. They are not inherently suffering. Suffering arises when the mind fights reality. When it demands that rain come or that frost stay away. When it clings to one outcome and pushes against another. This is the core of the Buddha's teaching. The cause of suffering is craving. Craving for things to be different than they are. Craving for pleasant experiences to last. Craving for unpleasant experiences to end. This craving is not a sin. It is a mistake. A misperception. We crave because we believe that getting what we want will bring lasting satisfaction. But nothing lasts. So the satisfaction never lasts. And we are left craving again. The way out is not to get what we want. The way out is to see through the craving itself. To see that the wanting mind is the source of the problem. Not the world. Not the garden. Not the rain. The wanting mind. Quantum physics points to the same truth from a different angle. The world is not fixed. It is probabilistic. Uncertain. Unpredictable. To demand certainty from an uncertain world is to set yourself up for suffering. The wise response is not to control the uncontrollable. It is to dance with uncertainty. To participate fully without needing to know the outcome. This is what Anya learned in her garden. She still planted seeds. She still watered and weeded. She still did everything she could to help her garden thrive. But she no longer demanded that it thrive. She did her part and then she let go. She trusted the process. She trusted the garden. She trusted something larger than herself. There is a Buddhist teaching called the two arrows. The first arrow is the event itself. The physical pain, the loss, the disappointment. The second arrow is our reaction to the event. The mental anguish, the worry, the despair, the resistance. The first arrow is often unavoidable. Life brings pain. But the second arrow is optional. We add it ourselves through our reaction. The practice is to learn to receive the first arrow without shooting the second. To feel the pain without adding the story. To experience loss without spiraling into despair. To face uncertainty without demanding certainty. This is not easy. It takes practice. But it is possible. Anya's garden taught her this. When the rabbits did find their way through her fence and ate her lettuce, she felt the first arrow. Disappointment. Loss of food and effort. But she noticed the second arrow rising. The anger at the rabbits. The self-blame for not building a better fence. The fear that this would happen again. And she chose not to shoot it. She let the disappointment be there without adding the rest. She repaired the fence. She planted more lettuce. She let go. This is the path. Not perfection. Not never feeling pain. But feeling pain without multiplying it. Facing uncertainty without fighting it. Living with an open heart in a world that cannot be controlled. The quantum world and the Buddha both point to the same wisdom. You cannot control the wave function. You cannot predict the particle. You cannot make the rain fall or the frost stay away. But you can control how you meet each moment. You can choose presence over worry. You can choose participation over resistance. You can choose peace over suffering. Anya still gardens. Her garden still faces threats. But she is different. She is present. She is at peace. And when she sits among her vegetables watching the sunset paint the leaves in gold, she knows something that cannot be taken from her. The peace was never in the garden. It was always in her. We have traveled far together. From quantum particles to ancient wisdom. From the solid world to shimmering uncertainty. Now we arrive at the end. But every ending is also a beginning. Let me tell you one final story. A hospice nurse named Sarah sat with an elderly man named George in his final days. George had built a successful life but now lay restless and afraid. "I spent my whole life trying to build something solid," he said. "Something permanent. But now I see nothing I built was solid. I have been chasing a shadow." Sarah pointed to the window where afternoon sun cast long shadows across the lawn. "The shadows are real," she said. "You can see them. But you cannot hold them. Your life has been like that. Real. Beautiful. But not solid. The question is not whether you built something that lasts. The question is whether you were present for the building. Whether you loved the people you built with. Whether you stopped sometimes to watch the shadows move." George was quiet. Then he smiled. A real smile. He died peacefully the next morning. This is the final teaching. You are not a thing that appears and then disappears. You are the appearing itself. The light that casts the shadow. The ocean that waves. The tree that leaves. What animates the form, what witnesses the form, that is not born and does not die. It is just presence. Just awareness. Just this. The Buddha called this the unborn, the uncreated. It is not a thing you can grasp. It is what remains when all grasping stops. It is what is reading these words right now. You do not need to wait until you are dying to discover this. You can discover it now. Not by achieving something new but by noticing what has always been here. Not by becoming someone else but by seeing through the someone you thought you were. The solid world dissolves. The separate self dissolves. What remains? Not nothing. Everything. Appearing just as it is, in this moment, fresh and free. Thank you for walking this path. May you see clearly. May you live fully. May you rest in the peace that has always been here, waiting for you to notice. This is Monk's Temple. Go in peace.